because of my mentality. If the lion is the king of the jungle, how can he be the king of the jungle? If he's not the biggest, the elephant is probably one of the biggest. He can't be the fastest because that's a cheetah. He can't be the smartest. So he's not the biggest, the fastest, or the smartest. So how does a lion become the king of the jungle? His mentality. That's the only difference of a lion and an elephant. When a lion walks up and sees an elephant, he thinks lunch. The elephant thinks run. And it's all mentality. Because when a male lion walks up, he may be outnumbered by a pack of hyenas. But I'm king of my jungle because of my mentality.
Hey, Shalom. All praises to Yahawashi, Yahawashi, Bashem Rekakwadash. Hey, much mercy to you, sincere brothers out there, the true house of David. All you brothers that believe in God and that understand Yahawashi, that are of God in these times. You have to know that you are of God, and that's the mentality. You have to have the mentality of the elect, the mentality of the chosen, the same mentality that Jeremiah had, the same mentality that Moses had, the same mentality that Yahawashi had. We have that mentality, the same mentality of John the Baptist, the same mentality that Paul had. It's all a mentality. You have to know who you are in the spirit. Everybody is not able to have that mentality of knowing for sure what they are, being whole and perfect in mind towards the Lord. And shalom to all you false prophets and you false brethren that listen to our videos that are in unbelief. A lot of you guys believe a lot of what we say, so that leaves a lot of you guys in the middle. And the Lord said he'd rather you be hot or cold. So a lot of you guys are just confused, and a lot of you guys are just false brethren. Hey, shalom to you. But it's all a mentality, understanding who you are. And yesterday I spoke on circumcision. I want to go into that word circumcision again. I went into that word circumcision maybe like a couple months back. I remember I did a lesson on circumcision, but I'm gonna go over it again and read it again, because circumcising your heart is cutting yourself off from the flesh as much as possible. One of the most important things, like I mentioned yesterday, cutting yourself off from the flesh, is cutting yourself off from a way of thinking, which these camps have a limited way of thinking. You have to cut your mind off from that limited way of thinking. They think, they can't be in the covenant yet. They think that they don't have spiritual power. They think that they need to see certain things. They think that this flesh limits them. They think they have a limited mentality. They have a hopeful elect mentality. We have a different type of mentality. Us of knowing who we are. The scriptures say we speak these words to them that are perfect. So we know, according to the scriptures, that men out here are perfect according to their calling, according to they are chose. And not everybody is chose. The majority of guys are of the world, and only a few are really, really of God like that. I want to go into that word circumcision, but I want to read John 17, because the Lord in John 17, he tells you that he given them the word, and the world had hated them, and they are mine. You are the Lord's, and the Lord can only be glorified in you. So another way you could tell if guys are not of the Lord, if they're not glorifying the Lord in their body. Now, if guys are teaching different doctrine, or if guys are adding and taking away from the scriptures, it's all about the doctrine and what's coming out of your mouth in these last days. And a lot of guys are not really glorifying the Lord. They're glorifying other things. The only thing that the election will do, and the scripture tell you right here in John 17, I want to read a little bit of this. Because if you're not glorifying the Lord, and Paul said, you're cursed if you teach another doctrine. The scripture say, if any man teach another doctrine outside of what he was taught. So when it comes to the new covenant, you have to teach what the Lord taught. You have to speak what he spoke. You know, when guys start venturing off to other things that's not included in what the Lord was speaking in the letters in red, and what the apostles was attaining onto, then you're speaking another doctrine. And a lot of guys are cursed doing that shit. So the new covenant, it's not just the new covenant. You have to be of it, and you have to speak it. You know, not use the new covenant to bring all different types of doctrines, or to get you a place in the world, or to sneak things of the flesh in there. Guys that's bringing, man, it's heavy, but what guys have done in the last moment is really demonic and it's satanic. And you have to separate yourself from the uncircumcised flesh. And that is the multitude. And that is guys that are still hinging on the flesh. The new covenant has nothing to do with the teaching of the flesh. The new covenant is a teaching of the spirit. The new covenant teaches repentance. The new covenant, it teaches love. It teaches forgiveness too. So that's why Paul said, if you teach another doctrine from what you've learned, let's just say you've been teaching the new covenant, then you start teaching wayward doctrine, then you're cursed. Because you supposedly understand Yahawashi. So that just means if guys go off and they teach other doctrines that don't have nothing to do with the new covenant, that just means guys were cursed the whole time. And this is a time too where the doctrine of Yahawashi has to be defended. That's what Paul said. He will defend the gospel. He will defend the Lord. And that's what defending the gospel is all about. So I want to read a little bit in John 17, and whatever else comes in through the Spirit. I want to go through circumcision. But the new covenant is the gospel of Yahawashi, which mainly that is the doctrine of the Lord, which that involves you repenting. That's changing from the mind of the multitude. Even in these bodies. That's why Paul said, oh, wretched man I am. Yeah, we all have certain issues dealing with this flesh, yes, because we're in these flesh too. But what you have to understand, the difference between us being in the flesh and other people that are of the world, that are of the flesh, is that our heart is whole unto the Lord. Meaning we're not going to mix nothing in the doctrine. Mainly it's the doctrine of God. That's what it is. You're not going to use the Lord's doctrine to push a different type of doctrine. You see what I'm saying? And that's what guys are doing. That doesn't make you whole when you do that. You're cursed. You have to keep the doctrine pure. I'm gonna use the analogy of a woman. This doctrine is something to where if you have a woman, you don't want her dealing with no other man or no other, you know what I'm saying? So you have to keep it pure. If the Lord didn't teach it in his gospel, then you shouldn't teach it either. You shouldn't even be thinking about it at all. That's what Paul meant too. That's another thing. What Paul meant, he said everything is lawful, but it ain't expedient. That means, yeah, things may be in the scriptures, but you don't have to bring that shit up because it don't have nothing to do with the gospels now. The gospels is a whole nother level. And that's why the only ones that can actually understand the gospel is 144,000. And I noticed, man, I watch certain things, you would notice like certain preachers, pastors, and even guys in these camps, they do not really go deeply into the Gospels, because a lot of guys are not a part of the Gospels. They're not of God's. Guys are doing this for ulterior motives. So the Gospels has nothing to do with anything else. The only thing the Gospels is about is teaching the Lord, his walk, making you understand his walk, having you understand who did he die for. He didn't die for everybody back then. He died for the election right now, because the majority of the world, they're not going to make it. People are dying every day. So he died for the elect to keep them out of this world, so they can teach the word and draw in the other elect in these last days, because the Lord said he would leave, and the ones that are in the world, they will have his word, and his word is the new covenant. That's all it is. You know, it's not nothing else. It's not the camp doctrine. That's not the covenant and the words of Yahawashi. That's not. It's not the knowledge of the tree of the good and evil. It's not none of that shit. The new covenant is on a whole nother level, because it's only compatible with those that are of God. This is John 17:8. It says, "For I've given unto them the words which thou hast given me, and they received them." Right, the elect, they've received the words. They received the gospel. "And have known surely that I have come out from thee, and they have believed that thou hast sent me." Right, just like when Yahawashi asked Peter who he was, and you know, the brother brought it up, but yesterday. But Peter knew who the Lord was through the Spirit. And the Lord said, flesh and blood didn't tell you this. This is something that you had within you. And that is us. We always had something in us that let us know, like, man, it is a God, you know, but, you know, before we came to the truth, before we even knew anything about God or any of that, we always had a feeling like, man, there is a God. There is something to life that I'm a part of, but I just don't understand it. And, you know, what the Lord did, he brought us to this understanding. And by way of the world and these camps and shit like that, that was a certain part of our life that helps us, that really helped us get to to get us to understand who we really are, by making us understand the scriptures. And by us understanding the scriptures, we were able to escape these camps and the world. You know, once you escape these camps, you're escaping the world, because basically your salvation depends on if you circumcise yourself and you separate yourself from the world, man. That's what your salvation depend on, and you have to do that to be able to be really circumcised. You know, not just these camps, but a lot of guys that say they're teaching the new covenant. This is the main thing that you have to do. You have to circumcise yourself, cut off the flesh. Because when you go back to the Old Testament, you will have to circumcise your penis, cut off the extra skin. So now, cut off the extra skin of your penis. So now you have to cut off the excess flesh. And the excess flesh could be the doctrines of the world, the ways of the world that everybody's following. Mainly it's the doctrine. It's a way of thinking. Because these camps, they will limit you, and they will have you in a doubtful mind frame. These guys are in a doubtful, in the middle mind frame. They're in the unbelieving spirit. Their whole thing is they can't believe the covenant's here. How can the covenant's here? They're teaching the Bible in doubt. So a lot of guys on the street, they're cursed. And it's like they don't even understand what the fuck they're teaching. The Lord tells you in Hebrews, and he also tells you in Psalms, that lo, I come in the volume of book, it is written of me. So the Bible, when you get to the new covenant, the New Testament, it is about the Lord's Son, bro. That is all that this Bible is ultimately about. And you go back to the Old Testament, you like to read old stories from the Old Testament, that's fine. But the new covenant is on a whole nother level. The new covenant was on a whole nother level. That's why when the Lord took Peter, James, and John on the mount, and you had Elijah, and then you had Moses standing there, and them two faded away, and the only one was left was Yahawashi. This was letting you know right there that now it is all about Yahawashi and what his words were saying. So now what you see is that the world does not put an emphasis on the gospel. The Lord does not put an emphasis on the covenant because the world is not of the covenant. Because it's not for the world to understand the covenant and to be of it. That's why Paul said, if any man teach any other thing than what he have learned, let that man be accursed. Because if you say you're teaching a new covenant and you bring in different doctrines that the Lord didn't teach, you're cursed. Because you've been defiled now. Yeah, so it's really heavy to really understand what's going on. It's real simple in this last day. But matter of fact, this was David said, let this word be a stumbling block for them. And ultimately, if you have the flesh, this word is going to be a stumbling block. That's why you shouldn't mix nothing with the word. You should keep the word by itself. Don't mix the word with nothing else. You just teach Yahawashi. You teach the Gospels. If you teach the new covenant, then it's a doctrine of the Yahawashi. It's not a doctrine of the flesh. It's not a doctrine of the tree of good and evil. That's not what the Lord was teaching. And it's important because we see guys that are teaching these things the Lord didn't teach, and for some reason they think they're of the Lord, still doing that shit. And obviously you can see that guys are straying off from what the Lord actually taught and what the Lord actually said. So it's actually heavy what's going on in these times. So what you have to understand, by guys too, another thing too, I want to say this, man, and it's real important. You teaching a new covenant, you have to teach Yahawashi. That's if you want to teach another doctrine, go teach another doctrine by yourself without adding Yahawashi in there. Yahawashi didn't have nothing to do. He didn't teach about the flesh. He taught about repentance, faith. He had some prophecies he went over, but mainly he was teaching you how to see, and he was teaching love and you how to love the Lord and repenting. And he was doing a lot of healing. That is what you're supposed to be teaching. Now, guys are so corrupt in this time, they think they could just add whatever they want to add unto the scriptures and it's okay. No, it's not. That's why the Lord set up Paul, and he set up us few brothers to actually defend the Lord. Be like, the Lord didn't teach that. Why are you teaching that? Why are you guys pushing that? And the scripture tell you cannot put a stumbling block in the way of the people. Matter of fact, let me read something real quick. You know what? Let me read this real quick. Zephaniah 1 and 3. Check this out. Because another thing too, if a guy stumble at certain things of the flesh and they can't get over it, and they think that teaching certain things is right, the Lord did that to trip the wicked up. It's heavy. It's heavy. So just like David said, let their table become a snare. It's heavy. Zephaniah 1 and 3, I will consume the man and beast. I will consume the fowls of heaven and the fishes of the sea, and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. And the stumbling blocks with the wicked. And I will cut off man from the land, saith the Lord. Right, so in these times, the Lord is also using the word to be a stumbling block for guys that's really of the flesh. So let's say Yahawashi is the Gospels, and guys start teaching other things of the flesh to put it in there. That is a stumbling block that the Lord have set in the way to let you know that guys are of the flesh. It is very heavy. Romans 9:32, it says, wherefore, because they sought not, check this out, wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law, for they stumble at that stumbling stone. Right, because guys are not teaching this because they have faith. They're teaching it because they're in the flesh. The Lord told you, whatsoever, if it's not of faith, then it's of sin. So guys are teaching this not of faith, but they're teaching it because they're carnal. They're of the flesh. Now you go back to the old law of Moses. That is fleshly. The new covenant is of the spirit. So one of the ways to eliminate guys that's not really of it, they're going to be adding shit to the new covenant. And this is a bad time to be teaching shit outside the covenant, bro. This is a bad time to be doing it. But that just lets us know that guys are of the flesh and they're not of the spirit like that. You see what I'm saying? The timing is everything. So at this time, if you teach the Gospels, you're supposed to be making men understand Yahawashi, not the tree of good and evil, not women. And I got to keep saying this because that shit is of the flesh. And guys, focus is in the wrong fucking place. So what has happened is, because guys are not teaching this because they have faith and they have a good heart, this word has become a stumbling stone unto them. So they're stumbling at the word now, teaching shit that they ought not teach. Look at these camps. That's a prime example of not teaching this word, not built on faith. So the word is not going to profit, guys, because it didn't have no faith in it. Matter of fact, let me read something. I'm going to come back. I got a couple of things. I want to go back to that. But this is you got to understand this, because if you're not really of Yahawashi like that, you're going to be teaching things and adding things to the scriptures. It's no difference than what these camps are doing. Now, the Gospels and the Bible is ultimately all about Yahawashi. But what are these camps teaching? Everything except Yahawashi and his covenant. Why they're doing that is because they're not of God like that. They're of the world, mixing the world doctrine and the doctrines of men and camps unto the gospel. So guys are cursed doing that because they're not of God. That's why the scriptures too, when you go to Jude 1:4, it tells you that guys have crept in unaware. Now, guys have crept in unaware, not understanding that they're of the flesh. And the only ones that can really teach Yahawashi is the ones that are of Yahawashi, which I'm going to go back to that. But I just wanted to make a point. This word has become a stumbling block unto certain guys that are of the world, and they've already showed themselves already. It does not really take much for guys for you to see who they are. The Lord you can't hide, like I did that sit down last week. Everything has to manifest if you're of God or if you're not of God. So you can't act like you're teaching the Gospels and you're teaching shit of the flesh, talking about that's the part of the new covenant. It don't work like that. So what you've done, you've already showed yourself. Look, these camps and these false prophets, they teach every day too. And a lot of you guys that's false prophets, a lot of you guys teach all this shit, but you're not even of God. And that's the difference between us over here. We teach Yahawashi. We don't teach nothing else but the Lord, and that's what's beautiful about us over here. And can't nobody say we teach nothing else but the Lord. So it's very beautiful. Because guys can tell us, they could tell us few brothers than the rest of you guys that's teaching the new covenant. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. Everything speaks for itself. Now, the only reason guys are like mad at us is because we're not like they ass. We're not teaching shit of the flesh that weakens you. We're teaching our people that the only way to actually for the new covenant to work for you or for you to be a part of it, you have to have faith. And a lot of guys are showing that they're of the flesh, man. They don't have any faith. You have to have faith to know that you're of God. You have to have faith to know that you're of the covenant. You have to have faith to believe. You have to have love to actually believe in God. This whole covenant is based on the unseen things that you can't see. So you have to have faith to believe in the things unseen. You see that? So a lot of guys are showing you that their trust is in the flesh by the doctrine they're teaching, because their doctrines that they're adding is of the flesh. It's of things that you have to see. That's where their trust is. Hebrews 4:2, it says, "For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them, but the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it." Right? So now guys can profit off this truth. You know, they can get money, clout, subscribers, women, you know, the shit of the flesh. What Paul is talking about, the prophet is the prophet in the spirit, to overcome the world, to escape death, to escape the flesh, to have the Lord with you. That's why the Lord said too, his honor is not of this world, his honor is of the Father. That is heavy. That is really heavy. So when you can have that honor from the Father, because you can't have both. You know, you can't have both. You can't teach this truth and get the honor of the world and then turn around and think you're honor of the Spirit. No, it doesn't work that way. Then therefore, if you're honored of the world, you're not in the Holy Ghost. You know, it's heavy, man. It is heavy. That's why a lot of guys, they crept in unawares, because they were unaware that by them being of the flesh, the Spirit is going to like really search you out. And really, you do it on your own, because you're adding and you're taking away. Like I said the other day, you got these camps, they add to the scriptures. I mean, they take away from the scriptures. Now you got guys adding to the gospels. Like the shit they're teaching is a part of the gospels, and it's not. Yeah, like you had the women in the gospels, they always reference the Lord. The Lord didn't fucking reference women like that. It's heavy, man. It is very heavy, bro. Guys don't really understand this thing fully. So you can see off of that guys are not of the Lord like that. The Lord had put a stumbling block before them to make them stumble in this last time, so we can see where guys are at. And it's very heavy. And it's something of the flesh guys are stumbling over. Either it's women they're stumbling over, either it's fame to be seen in the world, you know, or either it's just something of the flesh that's going to make you stumble and add to the doctrine. You have to keep the doctrine pure. Don't add nothing to it. Don't take nothing away. Just teach the Lord. How easy is that? But you got Jake, they always want to act like they're so deep and they can't just do. The Lord, Paul said, if any man teach in something else other than what you have learned, let him be accursed. Romans 9:32, it says, wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but it was by their works of the law, for they stumble at the stumbling stone, right? A lot of guys are stumbling at Yahawashi because a lot of guys don't understand what it really takes just to teach Yahawashi. You have to just teach the Lord. That is the gospel. And let me say this. A lot of guys don't really see it, but to teach the gospels and the parables and the way of the Lord and to teach the new covenant, it's so much in the new covenant that you could break down and understand without adding anything to it. But guys are so carnal because their mind is with the flesh. That's why this is a stumbling stone, because guys' works is not of faith. It is of something carnal. You see what I'm saying? Romans 9:33, as it is written, behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone, a rock of offense, right? A lot of guys are offended. They are offended because the Spirit is speaking and guys are not of the Spirit. So they're getting offended of it because they're of the flesh. That's why these camps can't get the new covenant. They reject it. You got guys in the new covenant falling to the flesh. At the last minutes, man, it is heavy. And whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. You see that? Romans 11:9. And David said unto them, let that table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Right. A lot of guys have this word trapped your ass, because a lot of guys that are of the flesh, they didn't understand that this book is of the Spirit. And if you're of the flesh, it's going to be sought out. And guys are revealing themselves. What's heavy is the Spirit makes guys reveal themselves. Teaching shit that don't belong with Yahawashi. Other doctrines. That's why this word, the scripture say this word is for reproof and for rebuke. That's what this word is for. Proverbs 4:2, for I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. You see? Matthew 15:9, but in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines and the commandments of men. Right, so doctrines of men and the commandments of men, the doctrines of men, the doctrines of this world, the shit of the flesh. So that's why guys, this word is a stumbling stone, because guys don't really have faith because guys are of the flesh. That's why they're bringing different doctrines of the other flesh. You see, it's heavy, man. Mark 12:38, and he said unto him, in his doctrine. You see that? Beware of scribes, which love to go in long clothing and love salutations in the marketplace. Right. So a part of the Lord's doctrine is beware of guys that like to be seen in garments. Wearing the garments, to tell you the truth, that is of the old law. Because the garments now, the righteous garments is in your mind. The true garments is in your spirit. Do you have those garments of righteousness? Do you have Yahawashi? Are you the bride clothed with the garments of righteousness? That's the true garments. So the guys going out to the highways and you see him in all these garments, really that shit don't matter anymore. That's why like guys don't really get what the new covenant is really about. Guys are still of the old. They're still doing the things the camps are doing. And the camps don't even believe in the new covenant. That's why it ain't about you being seen. But, you know, I keep continuing to say this, and brothers, but we keep continue to say this because it's like guys don't really get what the new covenant is truly about. It ain't about being seen. You better hope the Lord see you. Yeah, all of that garment shit, that go back to the old laws of Moses too. The true garments now is the righteousness of Yahawashi, which do believing in Yahawashi, that gives you eternal life. So the true garments now is the righteousness of the Lord. Matter of fact, let me grab that real quick. Guys want to wear their garments out to the street and be seen, not understanding that it ain't about you being seen in garments anymore. It's heavy, man. Matter of fact, let me read this. Matthew 23:5. But all their works they do to be seen of men. They make blood their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. Right. So the false prophets, they're going to want you to see them in garments all the fucking time. It's heavy. This thing is spiritual, man. It is very spiritual. Now, Revelations 3:4. It says, thou hast a few names, even in Sardis, which have not defiled their garments. And they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. Right? The garments are the garments of righteousness. Your righteousness, your righteous garments, the righteousness of the Spirit. That is your true garments. If you are in the spirit, then you are over the law. So if you are in the spirit, then you're over the law of garments and being seen and the old law of Moses. But a lot of you guys, you don't fucking understand that. Right, so the true garments and the true righteousness is of the spirit, bro. It's not of you being seen in a fucking garment. Revelation 16:15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches and keepeth his garments. These he walk naked and they see his saying. Right, you got guys, they're walking naked with garments on. Right, you got guys actually walking naked with physical garments on. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not about the physical garments that you see guys in on the street. That's why the Lord said, beware of guys in those fucking garments. Because they're going to use those garments to make it seem like that they're of God. And that's not the case. So a lot of guys in these last days, you're not going to outsmart the elect. You may slip a fast one over for a second, but ultimately the Spirit's going to search your ass out. You don't have, it's like guys are walking around on borrowed time. It's heavy. You know, they're sneaking around just only for so long until you see that guys are not really of God like that. Right, so this word is a stumbling block for the wicked. If you're carnal, the Spirit is going to search you out, man. And you're going to reveal that you're carnal some type of way. When it comes to Yahawashi and the gospel, you see what I'm saying? When it comes to this gospel and you're adding to it, that you're teaching shit the Lord didn't teach, that is very important. That is very important. Guys like, oh, they're going to be mad about this one. No, we're not mad about anything. It's just that you're letting us know that you're not of God teaching that shit. I don't know what made guys do that, but you guys start teaching that shit of the woman and the flesh and the tree of good eat. That just shows that you're not of God. And we have to get the fuck away from guys teaching that shit. That's just like these camps. You got to get far away from that shit too. And so somebody that's of the flesh, they don't understand that you shouldn't be teaching that shit. Heavy, man. Isaiah 59:17, for he put on righteousness as a breastplate and the helmet of salvation on his head, and he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and as a clad zeal with the cloak, zeal as a cloak. Isaiah 61:10, I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my power, for he had clothed me with the garments of salvation, and he had covered me with the robe of righteousness as a bridegroom decorate herself with ornaments, as the bride adorn herself in her jewels. Right. The righteousness of Yahawashi. That's what this is all about. So guys that's going out there with the physical garments, they're still naked. So basically, you know what? I'm gonna leave it at that. I still got some things I wanna speak on. You know, mainly the circumcision, but this is part of the circumcision. Cutting off the flesh and guys that are of the flesh spiritually, and putting on the righteousness of Yahawashi. Is all about Yahawashi. That's why the Lord said, I give you a white stone. That white stone is like that the mark of exemption. You see what I'm saying? So if guys are not teaching the Lord and moving like the Lord, and they're teaching shit the Lord didn't teach, Paul said, let that man be accursed. Revelations 2:17. Right, you should know better teaching that shit. That shit heavy. Revelations 2:17. If he that have an ear, let him hear. He that have an ear, let him hear the Spirit that saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna, and will give them a white stone, And in the stone, a new name. Well, a new name is written, which no man knoweth, saving he that received it. Right, and the Lord tells you, and going back real quick to John 17, the Lord tells you that they have received the word. So we have the white stone, and we have the new name. The new name goes into the righteousness of Yahawashi. The new name goes into that new spirit that we've received because we are of the covenant. It's a different type of name. Just like Saul's name was changed to Paul, he was given a totally different spirit from Saul, and that's what we've been given too. Abraham's name was changed. Jacob's name was changed to Israel because you've been given a totally different spirit from what you had of the world. That's why it's important for you to repent so you can receive the name, the new name, and the white stone, the exempt from judgment. That all goes into circumcising the flesh. So that's why the Lord tells you right here that they have received the word. John 17:8, and I have given unto them the words which thou hast given me, and they have received them, and they have received them. You see that? So when you receive this word and you really receive Yahawashi, you receive that white stone and that new name. It says, I have known surely that I have come out of thee, but thou hast believed that thou hast sent me. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, right? The Lord's not playing for this world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are dying, right? The Lord have certain men that are of him. And all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. And all mine are thine, right? So certain men are of the Lord, and you are the Lord's. You were redeemed. All right? You're the Lord's. So you got to be able to see who's the Lord's and who's the world's. And I seen the clip of this video. It says, outnumbered by false prophets. You have to be able to see who are the false prophets of the new covenant. And you have to be able to see all the false prophets in these camps. You should be able to see that. You should be able to see that by now. And I'm going to tell you, brothers, don't get caught in the middle. Don't get caught in the middle, man. Because them grim reapers, man, them angels, they don't give a fuck if you're dancing in the middle. If you are on the side of the wicked, they're going to chop your ass down. There ain't no talking. You're not doing no negotiation. You have to be able to see where the spirit is and where the spirit is not. I'm going to give you a clue. The spirit ain't where guys are teaching about the flesh and the shit of the world. That is not where the spirit is. The spirit is in the new covenant and the gospel of Yahawashi. So the Lord said, all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them, right? So Yahawashi can only be glorified in the ones that are his. And the ones that are his are going to be teaching Yahawashi. Hey, so with that, hey, shalom.
Pleasant out, Pluto.